Alright, here we are, floor 4, Shopkeeper. Um, if I die due to distraction or ranting, I am sorry, 4th floor can get very difficult. Um, but yeah, I think, I don't remember, it might have been 2nd or 3rd floor. I was ranting about, I've been listening to a lot of Ghosts lately, and I didn't like them before. So me with music, I go through phases. Like, I largely listen to only metal. But the things that I like varies wildly. My taste can get extremely eclectic when I'm in the mood. So I heard Ghost, like the first album I heard by them. I don't remember which one, what it's called. It's like If You Have Ghost, I think it's like the yellow one. And at the time, I wasn't a big fan of it. Uh, but they came out with several more albums since then, obviously. And I listened to the song Rats a couple weeks ago. So here's the thing, I love rats. I have had rats as pets a lot, and I think they are one of the most adorable animals ever. And if you don't agree with me, then there's something seriously wrong with you. I don't find them scary in horror movies. I love everything about them. We're not selling our shotgun. We'll try to get his. So, yeah, I will listen to any song about rats just because it's about rats. And I heard that song and I was like, damn, that is a really good song. I was like, so I started listening to that whole album. I'm like, damn, this is a really good band. And then just kind of steamrolled from there. And I've been listening to them for a while now, a couple weeks of nothing but Ghost. So, I really like their more recent stuff. I'm getting into their older stuff too, but they got a very King Diamond vibe. Obviously, they are a theatrical band. So we're going to drop our shotgun here and sell one of the non-upgraded ones to do our big quest, and then we'll get our good shotgun back. King Diamond, of course, one of my favorite bands of all time. Probably my favorite band, or musician of all time, rather, because his band was Merciful Fate. Anything that's that kind of like theatrical sort of metal or even hard rock, I will eat up with a spoon. I don't know why it appeals to me so much. Level exit. Whoops. But yeah, it's one of those things where, it's like when I first heard Powerwolf a couple years ago, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. And I spent like a month listening to nothing but Powerwolf. And that's pretty much what happened when I heard King Diamond, and that was many, many, many years ago. I was in 7th grade the first time I heard King Diamond, and I listened to the album Abigail. Uh, this was the remaster. I am in my 30s. I'm not old enough to have been in 7th grade when Abigail was released. Uh, but I heard it first time in 7th grade, and it was an album my friend had. They of course absolutely hated it. And I was like, can I have it? And, that just started the whole, oh man, that sucked. Told you, distractions. I don't know what that is, so let's just eat some bananas. So the first time I heard that album, it blew my mind. Even at that point, I was still obsessed with heavy metal. Like, it's been my lifelong passion, if you will, since, I can't even tell you. It's been a while though. Probably 9 or 10 when I first heard Black Sabbath. So at that point, I was really into. When I first heard King Diamond, I was really into White Zombie and that kind of more mainstream metal. Metallica, I was really into. I also liked Slayer a lot at that time. So I heard King Diamond. There was nothing else like it. I mean, you know, 80s stuff has a lot of that kind of falsetto singing, especially bands, you know, like Queensryche and things like that. But okay, there is a gang war going on that I instigated. Let's just leave that alone for a second. So yeah, I've always loved metal. I wasn't huge into 80s metal back then when I was younger, like I am now, which may surprise people who know me because I listen to almost nothing but 80s metal bands exclusively. Okay, and we died. Let's go ahead and start a new run so I can finish this story. And we'll do a zombie run, because that sounds like fun. So zombies can't use guns, so let's make sure our loadout is something that we can actually use. Let's do a skeleton key run. Those are really fun. And zombie. Yeah, so King Diamond was like the first like really unique 80s metal band I heard. Because before that, you know, I did like some hair metal, and I would listen to it sometimes, because I really have always liked bands like Rat, you know, irony notwithstanding here. I didn't like Rat because they were called Rat. I like Rat because they have really good songs. And I also liked Quiet Riot at the time, you know, because they had a very big hit. So bands like that I was familiar with. But there's like so many golden gems from the 80s of musical styles that you would not expect. So when I heard King Diamond, I was like, God damn, this is good. I listened to Abigail for months. Got Graveyard and Voodoo for, it was either Christmas or a birthday. So after that, I tracked down his old albums, you know, slowly built them up. Them was the next one I got, followed by Fatal Portrait, you know, and then Sleepless Nights, or not Sleepless Nights, Conspiracy, that has Sleepless Nights on it, sorry. You know, kind of just steamrolled from there. And from there, I started getting really heavy into 80s metal. We'll explain what the zombie does here in a second. We'll just let those guys... and our big quest is to make as many zombies as possible. But yeah, needless to say, that got me into bands like Queensryche and, you know, the bands that have the more of a theatrical style on theatrical videos, and definitely that higher end of the singing musical scale, because not a lot of bands can sing the way King Diamond or Jeff Tate or anything like that does. Long story short here, I kind of went off on a rant. Started actually listening to Ghost, and especially their newer last few albums. God, cannot get enough of them. It's one of those things where, yeah, as a zombie, you have to zombify people to do things like buy things from them, which we're going to do. The zombie, of course, can shoot the phlegm, and if you hit somebody with it and then kill them, they become a zombie follower. Everyone else you kill normally just becomes a regular zombie. But anyways, that is how I got into 80s metal super heavily. You know, another good example here of bands I was into. Amon Amarth, I was really into when I was younger. Because, God, what year did that album with 1 Cent from the Golden Hall and Without Fear and all that come out in? I think like 97 maybe. So yeah, I got that when it came out. God, that was some of the first CDs I bought because we had a computer that year. So one year for Christmas, I got that album, Sorrow Throughout the Nine Worlds, and like one other thing that was not Amon Amarth, and I was fucking ecstatic. And you know, I don't like musical gatekeeping at all. I hate when people are like, "Oh, well, you like non-metal? You're not a metalhead." Yeah, all these metal bands do not exclusively listen to metal either, so I don't want to hear it. You know, you watch interviews with bands and what they like, what they listen to when they're not on stage. It's some crazy shit, you know? Like, yeah, I love metal. I will listen to metal any time of day. If you play a metal band I like, I am not turning it down. I'm turning it up, you know? But there is other music out there, and there is other music that's really good. I mean, there's a lot of good rap. There's a lot of good pop from the 70s and 80s. There's a lot of good hard and classic rock from that era as well. God, especially the 70s. That was like the era for really good hard rock bands. Southern rock, you know, too, was a great genre that, you know, yielded a whole bunch of great bands and hits. So, you know, gatekeeping, like you have to only like one genre to be a fan of it. That's stupid. That's like saying you're not a fan of cartoons because you watch the news sometimes. You know, that it makes no sense. But definitely these bands worth checking out. I have like a pretty encyclopedic knowledge of metal, like years albums were released and what songs were on what, and you know, what band members were on what band. I've been listening to metal for, you know, like 25 years now, so I've heard almost all of it. And there's always more bands coming out. For example, you know, there was a big movement of metal. Oh God, hold on. This knifey bastard over here is really not helping. But yeah, a couple years ago, you know, bands started emulating the 80s thrash style, and those bands are amazing because they bring in, you know, modern recording techniques. Because if you listen to a lot of the older 80s thrash, it's got a very underproduced sound because a lot of it was made in people's basements. I mean, it was like an era where that was not what was getting attention, but it was still getting enough attention that people would invest in recording equipment or tiny studios where they would start, you know, small record labels. It was a very interesting period for the scene, but it produced some great music. So, you know, there's bands that came out recently, like let me think of some off the top of my head here. Hold on, Homesickness Killer. No, we don't need that. Let's do Tank, like knockback being decreased. That'll help us stay in combat, because the zombie heals by hitting people with his melee attack. So if he's getting knocked back, he's getting hurt and not healing. But yeah, so bands started emulating that style because the 80s style, of like the real, you know, like thrash and speed and power metal and stuff like that, that laid the foundations for all the stuff that you hear now. If you're a metal fan, you know, they're emulating the more raw style of the early days of it, and it's really good. When Spellcaster came out with their debut album, and FYI, after that, I think Spellcaster's pretty garbage, which is a shame because one of my favorite albums has been Spellcaster's debut. I listened to that in the car for like over a year, almost exclusively. It was just so good, and it didn't stop being good the more I heard it. And after that, they got rid of their lead singer, and frankly, the direction he took the band just doesn't sound right to me. You know, I'm more of a fan of the style that I was just referring to, of the emulating the early days of 80s metal, just with better production value and, you know, the kind of... oh, they won't let you heal? All right. And, you know, obviously, from 1980 to 2015, people also developed, you know, more a style for more intricate guitar playing in metal also came about. So, you know, you definitely have that. Not to say that you know, bands like Queensryche and Black Sabbath and stuff didn't have like some amazing guitar work, because they did. Just you can definitely hear the difference between something that was produced and released, you know, in 1982 versus 2002 and 2012. All right. Some nice zombie apocalypse and explosions going on while I'm ranting about heavy metal. Ironically appropriate. They did patch this a while back so that if you don't speak English, you should still be able to accept these missions. Or like if you have the negative perk that shopkeepers will kick you out. Hold on one second. The shopkeepers will kick you out of their store. You can still talk to people who are giving you missions, which is good and also extremely helpful. We do have skeleton key, so we can just go in here, but we also don't have a way to unlock that chest. Very hard to aim that phlegm, by the ways. Alrighty. I forgot where I was going with that. So if you have time, you know, besides checking out Streets of Rogue, it's an amazing game. Very sandboxy. You can kind of just do whatever you want in it. Like, you obviously have specific mission objectives and things like that, but, you know, how you tackle them is your call. You know, you can go stealth, you can go violence, you can go zombie apocalypse. Excuse me. You know, the world's your oyster in this. Do it your way. It's the Burger King of games. So we're checking out this. We're checking out Ghost. We're checking out King Diamond. We're checking out Spellcaster's debut album, Under the Spell. My personal favorite song is Power Rising. There we go. You know, other bands, you know, Skullview, White Skull. There were a lot of bands that had Skull in their name for this thrash revival that I think it was like new wave of thrash is what most people coin it as. Very appropriate too, because it is a new wave of 80s metal, just like the new wave of British heavy metal that happened in the late 70s, early 80s. You know, bringing back that kind of hard rock style that originated with a lot of English bands. Of course, he had such masterpieces as Honor and Blood by Tank, and you know, that's when Diamond Head was around. If you remember the song Metallica covered, "Am I Evil?" That's Diamond Head. Diamond Head version is much better. Believe me, I love Metallica, but the original one for that is something else. Okay, gotta pause here for a second. That was needlessly intense. Let's go operate these. Alright, let's go operate that safe and get out of here. Is this floor 1-1? Slums 2, okay. Whew. Ranted my way through 2 whole floors. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. I may have to get going. My cat is chewing the carpet. Let's see if we can finish this last floor real quick. Oh my god, where's the exit? Dumbass is over here. There's still one lone cop surviving over there. He's the super cop. Me and my fiance have an inside joke about a cop from Apopka, because it's a town over here in Florida that we do not live in. And there's always a cop from Apopka out here. So we call him Apopka Cop, and he's nah, we're going for more melee. Housekeeping items, nope. Yep. Sounds good. You know, I did like an action movie kind of over-the-top intro for him. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Radiation blasts suck. It's going to really slow down this floor. We're going to gun for those missions, and like I said, we'll end this as fast as we can, because apparently my cat decided that tearing up the carpet here on this apartment that I do not own is a good idea. Luckily, zombies have a perk that gives them natural bullet resistance, so that's good. You know, helps you survive gunfire like that. Got some shurikens, we can use those. It's only firearms that we cannot use as a zombie. Yeah, our big quest is done as well, so we just kind of, like I said, need to gun for the objectives. Well, that didn't work out with him. So let's wait till the next burst and see if we can just run for the exit here. I literally forgot where I was going with that or what I was talking about. Sorry about that. It's alright, we're almost done with this floor. And even though we failed the Shopkeeper run, very good chance to succeed where he failed with a zombie. The zombie is ridiculously strong. And that is a success. Yeah, it is a successful first floor with a zombie. And we will do the second floor in a few days here. Not uploading a lot of Streets of Rogue as rapid fire as Slay the Spire. Reasons for that being, I just feel like playing Slay the Spire right now. So, y'all have a great day.